Hello, guys, and welcome to the new season of TheFilbertWay. I am joined today by Leicester City fan and sports journalist Callum Boyle to talk everything the Foxes today. Callum, how are we doing, my friend?
I'm doing really well, mate. Thanks for inviting me on. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Not too bad, thank you. Of course, now it's pre-season time. No one really likes pre-season. There's fans who look a bit too much into pre-season, I think. And we were going to take this opportunity to talk transfers, but we probably would have been a bit better off doing this a couple of weeks ago because it's been a bit quiet, hasn't it, Callum, on the transfer front at the moment?
Yeah, like a couple of weeks ago, I put a tweet out that was just sort of praising for how quick and efficient we've been in the transfer window. And then since then, it's obviously we had the Sule deal, which I think r most people deep down probably thought was never going to happen. When like Roma came calling, and I mean, you see the reception he got for joining Roma. Um, he was never going to join, but yeah, it's gone quite quiet. But that's also probably to do with like the Euros as well. And I'd like to think that it's being ramped up behind the scenes now.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a key moment. I think it reassured the fans a little bit because I think it was after Shrewsbury, Steve Cooper came out, spoke to BBC, and said they were kind of working hard behind the scenes. There's a lot of transfers that are in the mix that the media haven't picked up on yet. But since saying that, we've not signed anyone. But we'll go to the signings that we have made so far. So four official signings. Fatu signed on a permanence, obviously the one everyone knew was going to happen. Got Michael Golding coming in from Chelsea. Got Caleb Okoli, and lastly Bobby Decordova reading from Fulham. How would you rate the business that's gone on so far? It's have you been impressed by it? Have you been like what were your thoughts on it?
It's hard. I'd probably give it like a 6.5 because I mean, like Fatawu, obviously, he was incredible last season, and everyone knew he was signing on the permanent. So you know what you're getting with him. Although it'll be interesting to see how he fares playing against Premier League opposition regularly, week in, week out, because I think he had quite good fun in the Championship, but he's obviously going to come up against a better caliber of player. Michael Golding, definitely one that's probably for the future, but and also sort of an area where we've had a lot of like young talent anyway. Sort of Will, like I'd imagine he probably plays quite similarly to where Will Alves plays, but early signs are even just sort of the way they announced the signing. It seems like he's going to be in the first team, and a couple of Chelsea fans I know really, really rate him. So but it's hard to. He's not played much senior football, so it's quite hard. Okoli, he looks like a, he on paper from videos that I've seen really rock solid. He scored an own goal in pre-season. He's looked okay, but again, pre-season, like I'm not going to judge anyone if they play good or bad in pre-season. Like I've said many a time, I think the year we won the league, we didn't win a single game in pre-season, so it's very hard to use that as an accurate pinpoint. And then Declan Reid is probably the one which it's not a glamorous signing, but I think it's really important to have a signing like that. Fulham fans are gutted that he left, which whenever you see a fan base disappointed to see a player leave, that's sort of a good inkling that you're going to get someone good. He's valuable Premier League experience, can play pretty much everywhere, which is something we really need. We need squad depth. We need someone that, he's going to play, if he has to play right back or right midfield, striker, he can do it. And yeah, obviously replacing some valuable experience with like Mark Albright and going. It's important to have players that know what they're doing and to guide these younger players, especially if the likes of Golding, Alves, even Fatawu, are going to come into the first team and play regularly.
I think, like you said, with going on to the Decordova Reed signing, it's not glamorous. This is the exact way I described it. It's not glamorous. It's not a sexy signing, but it's one that you kind of need to have in the team because since we've last been in the Premier League, it's been a complete overhaul. The guys that were in the Premier League last time, I think you've got Ricardo. That's it. That actually played a big part. Wout Fast came in January in the Prem. Vestergaard was froze out of the squad. But I think you need some players that are used to playing a lot of Premier League football, and Decordova Reid will add a couple of goals here and there. And I think it'll be really important to get for Leicester the fact they got that one over the line. But another signing with Premier League experience that's a bit more exciting if we manage to pull it off is Reiss Nelson from Arsenal. Again, gone quiet in the last few days. I don't know what's going on there. He's come out and said he wants to assess his options. Do you think Leicester would be a good option for him? And do you think he'd be a good option for Leicester?
Absolutely. I mean, it would be interesting to see where he plays because he predominantly plays out on the right, I believe. And I know Cooper trialled Fatu on the left hand side and Mavadidi in the 10. Shrewsbury and Fatu sort of struggled a bit more, but I bet Nelson could probably play out on the left hand side. He's worked with Cooper before, which will be a big factor, I think, in any player joining. And also, whenever he seems to play regularly in the first team, more so away from Arsenal's loan spells, he's always impressed. I think it was Hoffenheim he was on loan at in Germany, and he was really, really impressive and stood out for them. He's someone that would excite me, I think, very much the Fatu mould. He's also played for Arsenal and scored some big goals for Arsenal. So he's playing the Premier League and he's young as well. It would be a nice blend. We've got a lot of experience in sort of Cody, Winks, Vardy, Pereira, like even Fast, Vestergaard. You need you need a good blend of young and experience to flourish and do as well as you can. You want someone that's going to chip in with goals. You wouldn't expect him to come in and score 20 goals from the right wing or the left wing, but he's someone which I think would excite people, and the fact that he's worked under Cooper as well sort of makes his transition a little bit easier because he knows the style of football that Cooper will expect from him.
Yeah, I think again, like you said, Cooper being involved in the under 21s, he knows a lot of these players that were meant to be the next big things. Again, Reece Nelson probably could have been if he didn't have players in his position that were getting game time ahead of him. I think a move to Leicester would be probably the perfect move for him. We look again. There's a few weeks till the season starts, and it's come around so quick. I just want to ask you, what do you think Leicester need now to kick on? I mean, depth is a massive thing going into the Prem. There's going to be a lot. There's not going to be as many games for us as there was last season, which is probably another head start we're getting. But what do you think we need to sign, and what position, what kind of players would you like to see down there next season?
I think the most glaring one, which I think everyone is screaming for, is the striker. I think, Vardy is 37, he's going to be 38 next season. So, like, it's going to be, you can't expect him to do it every week, even though time and time again he does. I think Patson Daka, I think everyone can hold their hands up now and admit that's just not worked. Tom Cannon's not really had a run in the side. And then also we've got no Iheanacho anymore because he's left. So I think at least one striker is needed. That needs to be a starting striker, in my opinion. I think that serious money needs to be put into that. I think even, to be honest, I think two strikers need to come in. But then every striker that comes in is always going to look at Jamie Vardy and know that they're in competitions and not necessarily going to start every week. But I think Leicester needs someone that this season that can score 10 to 15 goals quite comfortably, and then you hope that they get a bit more than that if they want to stay in this league. I think one, maybe two central midfielders at least as well. I actually think the fullback slots are well covered. I think, the beauty of having James Justin is he can play both sides quite comfortably. Obviously, Bobby Decordova-Reid, as we mentioned, Chris Jansen's back. He's featured a bit in pre-season. Be interesting to see if he features again. I know there's a lot of talk about, obviously he didn't play for us last season in the Championship, but he did play for a side that qualified for the Champions League in Bologna. So, that he's got a wealth of experience in the top flight as well. And, obviously had a season, came to us from Denmark, but playing in Italy, playing in Serie A and having a really good season out there, that bodes well. Obviously, then you've got backup in Luke Thomas. I think centre half, I wouldn't be opposed to getting another one. I mean, Akoli, Cody, Fass, and Vestergaard are probably four, and then you obviously you can even slot in people like Chowdhury and Didi. You can, Ben Nelson's waiting in the wings as well, although maybe a loan move would probably be better for him. I think a midfielder to maybe partner alongside Winks and Ndidi if we're still going to play three in the middle. Be really interesting to see how that works, or if Ndidi's going to be a bit more forward thinking like he was last time. Nelson, I would have him as well because I think while there's good options in the wing, and it never hurts to have more depth because the better depth you have, the better quality you have all round. So he's quite versatile to play across the pitch. Mavadidi could play in the 10. There's Golding playing 10. Alves. People like Sammy Braybrooke. But I think the main one for me is a striker. I think we need at least two strikers and I think they need to both be in before the start of the season, because if we're starting with just Vardy and outsourced Daka and Cannon, then alarm bells ring for me.
Yeah, I see what you mean. I think I think with the striker situation, it's probably the best time to go and break the bank on a striker because obviously this is the transition. I still believe that I think if Tom Cannon gets given the chance, I think he can definitely deliver. When he was given the chance last season, he showed every time he got a chance, he pretty much took it away. But I think now, if you're to go and get a striker that's maybe a bit older than Cannon, already knows where the goal is, if you've got someone like Vardy who can share a few of his expertise as well, I think now's the best time to go out and get a striker, to be completely honest. But looking at going and breaking the bank, it seemed like Leicester were very much under the impression that they needed to sell to go and buy. But after we saw recently, Chelsea come in for Mads Hermansen, £40 million we were valuing him at, and ultimately priced him out of a move, stopping Enzo taking another one of our players, which would have probably sent me through the roof if that happened, to be honest. But yeah, it just I think maybe does that show a bit of a statement of intent from Leicester by kind of pricing Chelsea out of a move like that? Because it just shows how important he is. Because I mean, a lot of people will say with goalkeepers, if you can get 40 mil for a keeper, you can go and get another one in for cheaper, and it won't be that much of a difference. But does that show a statement of intent from the Foxes by doing that?
Yeah, I think so. I think Mads Hermansen was probably one of my players of the season. I think he was certainly in my top three players of the season. He was pivotal to how we play. And it's also testament to Stolicic that when Hermansen didn't play, we didn't miss him as much as I thought we were going to miss him. That's we still missed him, obviously, and the difference in quality is quite big, but Stolicic did very well. I think Hermansen never really sort of made any inkling to leave, but then again, Dewsbury Hall didn't. I think the fact that they sold the player that they had to sell, that sort of gave them a bit of breathing room. I mean, lots of people weren't sure if we were going to spend a penny, but then we were linked with making a £21 million move for Soulé. So there's obviously money in the bank somewhere. I think if you're to lose two of your key players that guided you to promotion in the same season, you begin to worry. I think goalkeepers nowadays are a lot harder to replace than they used to be because a lot of people are so intent on playing the ball on the floor. That was the reason why Schmeichel went, because they deemed him not good enough to play with the ball at his feet. Hermansen's very good at that. Hermansen's distribution is a lot better than Schmeichel's was, and probably not as good as shot stopper, but also he's a lot younger, and he's just had the summer working with Schmeichel. I think that's a big statement of intent. And I think if Leicester do stay up, Hermansen will be a big factor in him staying up. Some of the saves he pulled off last season were incredible, and I can imagine he'll be there again to rescue us quite a few times.
That's going to be the fine lines of next season. But going into the Premier League, we've got this all to look forward to in about 2.5 weeks. But yeah, thank you, Callum, for coming on today, talking transfers or what there is of transfers at the moment, and hopefully there'll be a few more coming in under Steve Cooper. So thanks very much for coming on today.
Thanks, mate. I really appreciate it.
No worries, mate. Right, how do we end this recording without ending this call? Okay, I'm very good at this. Here we go.